That caught his attention. The gateway? He looked at her and rose up tall. How? The crystal rose up from the ground, seemingly all on its own, and moved to be tucked under one of his plated breast scales. 3 days from now, she stood firm in her place. In 3 days, we'll be able to open it, and you'll be able to go home. But we need your help before that can happen. Help with what? We intend to free the man responsible for you being here. You expect me to help you free Azra Lemuria? His rage began to return. No, she answered. Not yet, at least. Ganon laughed. Then you expect me to have a change of heart? His voice turned sour. Azra is dangerous. And he finally said, You are meddling with things beyond your ability. He turned away from her. In a nod, Taya popped in front of him once more. Do not presume to know the extent of my ability, serpent, the Azra commanded. Ganon was mildly impressed. I cannot believe for one moment that you are my daughter. In fact, I think it a ruse for the old man to escape, and escape he has. He slithered up closer to her, yet she did not budge. Then you came back, and in that flash, you looked so much like her. He examined her closely enough that his breath pushed at her hair. You're nearly a mirror image of her, and you have the markings that I have lost. I never touched her in that manner. How can this be? He circled around her, not quite in a coil, but close enough that Taya stood ready for anything. Then, with a surprise to the Azek, her long hair flipped aside without anything seeming to move it. Ganon looked down her back, and then as he swooped in up front, her arm pulled outward as she twirled in a guided spin while he looked her over. Amazing. How are you doing this? She whizzed around. You have yours, he said. I have mine. Fair enough. Tayo pulled her arm back down. But can we please take this outside? I'm sure Mathis is worried enough. Let that old man rot. Ganon backed away from Talia. Because of him, I'm Saharu. Taya's eyes twitched. Wait, what? I'm not in the mood to share my past with a stranger. Coldness flowed along the back of his words as he turned to look away from Talia. Needless to say, his meddling has caused the diminishment of my stature and is the reason I have lost my markings. Now I am met by both of you, who come to set my enemy free. So you will forgive me if I harbor ill will toward the old man and have no urge to honor any allegiance to you, daughter of Aaliyah or not. We have returned your crystal to you, at a time when it no longer matters. He spat over his shoulder. It does matter, she fired back. Forget about what Azra has done to you and let us help you get home. I will not return home as this Saharu, he roared and reared around. And if you free Azra, then there is no sense in returning to that world at all. I have not wanted to return home since becoming Saharu, Taya finished. At that point, Ganon could see on her face that, to a certain degree, Taya did understand, and her intentions were well meant. He could also gather that she spoke truthfully, as best she could given her knowledge. It seems that you do have an understanding of things. His voice softened, and he let out a tired rumble. And I must admit to my own misgivings, he thought as Taya watched. I have an anger deep within that brews. True, it all centers around Azra, but the deeper truth is that I know I am not trapped here because of him. No, I am trapped here because of them. Who? Taya squinted. Ganon turned away from her and slithered at an even pace. Come, there is something you should see. Can Mathis join us? The serpent twitched and turned to look back as he continued forward. I suppose he can't. Again he twitched as Taya vanished, and then both appeared by his side. Mathis appeared with a startled look on his face, while Ganon just slithered onward. He led them both to a room that opened in all directions, where the walls were covered with calligrams of hieroglyphs, writings, and carvings of all sorts. Even the ceiling held host to images and frescoes of celestial beings and planetary bodies. What is this place? Taya looked around, wide-eyed. Mathis thought to answer, but decided that in present company he should stay silent. Quietly, he pulled a little red berry from his pocket and slipped it into his mouth unnoticed. It's a library, Ganon answered, but more specifically the main gallery. Mathis could not help but speak up. Can you read it? Ganon shot the old man a look that made him shrink away. Many of the images are known to my world, so yes, I can read much of it easily. Leaving the main gallery behind and going down a spacious hallway, Taya looked on in wonder as the side of the hall opened to reveal another large, circular room. Even though a collection of tapestries hung in the way, she could see between them, and she gazed at the pillar inside. She had to stop, taken in by its grand carving of a tree that wrapped around its face. As she looked around, she noticed several more pillars carved in just the same fashion, though each tree was clearly different in shape and size. Taya snapped out of her daze and caught up to the others. "What do the images mean?" she asked, referring to the main gallery while she let her surroundings soak in. "A lot more than can be said in a mere 3 days," the serpent answered. "Try me," Taya pressed. But Mathis smacked his lips, and, for some reason, as he ate the berries, he felt more courageous, and he interjected. "Afraid he's right, maiden." He wiped his face, and the red stain streaked across his lower lip. "I'm about to show you a portion of what is written." Ganon veered off around one pillar to an alcove. Taya followed to behold a vibrant mural emblazoned with a myriad of images. "This wall holds the story of the beginning, and it is long." He stopped to look at the two of them. "Have you two brought any provisions for a stay?" Taya had not put a single thought to it, but now that it had been mentioned, her stomach instantly growled. "It has been more than a day since last we ate." Mathis, on the other hand, pulled a sprig of berries from his pocket and offered some to Taya. "You dropped me outside in a rather tasty place, maiden." "What are they?" she asked. The little red berry seemed unfamiliar. "It's the juiciest seed skin you'll ever have." He gave a wide smile. "I feel refreshed just eating them." He was refreshed. A little wiser, too, because the berries he ate were fed by the waters of Heliautumn. They were infused with the timeless. "We'll make do with these for now, and there's more where they came from." Taya accepted a handful of the berries and walked up to the wall as she looked over. Finally, she came to what looked like the beginning of the text, as there was a small bit of defined area of simple script that read, "When a creator pours their soul into the creation of something such as a planet, nature will grow in such a way as to eventually allow a version of the creator to be birthed into life. As of this writing, there is no explaining how nature can do this, and as the composer of this work, I am certain that one day there will be an all-enlightening illumination that speaks the truth of how it is done, but until this day comes, it is simply ineffable. On the faith of this concept, I, Azra Lemeria, architect of Nocturne, engrave this story." We're going to leave it there, because it goes on into Chapter 8. I want to thank you for joining me. If you want to read ahead, please check out the link in the description down below. Head on over to Amazon Books, buy yourself a copy. I would greatly appreciate it. A Book of Creation by Gregory James Gardner Jr. Please stay tuned, because the next couple chapters, it's just getting interesting. If you're not interested yet, if you've just been hanging on to see what this is all about, this is what it's all about in the next couple chapters. Little preview. Chapter 8 is called The Heart of All Things. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging in. Hit that like button. Share the first chapter of this with anybody you know that likes fantasy. And we'll see you guys around. Take it easy.